good day to be indigenous.
Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Couldn't cut. He didn't cut again.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake.
Welcome to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanja Hade. Hey, Katakiwi, to all my friends and relatives in four directions. You are listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot, and we discuss local, national, Native news and events. And as you know, Chujunk, Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues.
Yes, you are right, Daga. This portion of the show is supported by Native American Community Clinic on Franklin Avenue in Minneapolis, honoring health and tradition.
Hey, we got a jam-packed show as we do every Monday. We got Dr. Stately coming on, and Brook LaFloe. Your friend Brook is out there doing things for the community, and it's exciting to have that young warrior on and talk about what's coming up and her work in the community. But before we get too into anything, our prayers go out, Haley, to Florida again. I know the governor down there is stricken the word climate crisis and global warming out of the vocabulary of government work, but that's what's happening down there, and our prayers are out to our relatives in Florida.
Yeah. Be safe, and to all the wildlife, too. Scary.
Yeah, they're below sea level, and that's not a good place to be, especially during a hurricane. Hey, we're here with Dr. Stately. Welcome, Dr. Stately. Great to see you. Give me the peace sign. Deuces.
My kids, gangster signs.
Yeah. Yeah. Those kids don't know gangster.
They don't know.
Let me tell you.
They think they are. That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did. No, I was just listening to your comments about Florida. So yes, I have so many family members in St. Petersburg and around that area that are just like, I was up till like 2 a.m. last night trying to get my sister and her family a house to evacuate to in northern Florida. So, you know, I was able to finally find them a 6-bedroom house or 5-bedroom house. I would fit most of their family members in. So they're all on there. They're making their way up now. Up, I forget what it is, 305, something like that. 8.
Yeah, I heard.
It's slow going too. They're like, there's 1,000 cars on the highway. There's one lane going each way, so it's like, and there's actually nobody's going south. They're all headed north. So I think all the lanes are moving north, but it's still just so. It's nerve-wracking for me. You know,
yeah.
I have like a lot of relatives down there. My sister's kids are down there, and then my sister Ramona, her father, and the rest of her relatives are down there. So I sound really nasally because I was sick over the weekend.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Well, I know some relatives are going to another state. There's no hotels. They have to go a long way to get any kind of shelter. And like you said, it's slow moving. And
I was really lucky to get him a place, like an Airbnb. I was like, working my little thing on my phone, sending messages to everybody in the middle of the night.
Well, it's nerve-wracking, and it also makes it, it brings home the fact that we're in a small community in this little world, in this little galaxy, and it's very small.
Yeah, and I'm super anxious about it because, my niece and my 2 nephews, and Ramona herself also, their whole family grew up in Florida, so they grew up. They're not easy to scare, but like this one is this is the one that they've always talked about that they hope never comes, right? The Category 5, direct hit to the, and it's it's terrifying. I'm like anxious for my family. And I went out earlier today and put down tobacco. I'll do it again tonight. Just keep praying for them.
Well, Category 6 is, 160 miles an hour and above, or Category 5, I mean. And
Category 5, yeah.
That's, I can't.
I thought you just made up a whole new category because that was until 5. I was like, oh, wow.
Well, I'd name it after me or you. I'd say Category Robert. No, I'd get out of the numbers.
Really reckless.
Yeah, exactly. But
Total destruction.
Do you know when that's supposed to hit land?
It's supposed to hit land Wednesday morning, I think.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, it's pretty. And it's like, I was talking to my niece on the phone, and she was like, they just kind of ask her, like, it's so hard to be like the person here. And I'm like, what can I do to help? There's really nothing I can do to help. I can't do anything to help, right? Like, if I could buy her a plane ticket and her family plane tickets, I'd get them out of there. Those kind of, but there's no flights coming in and out, I think, or like no available flights, right? I think my sister told me she's friends with the Gozi family. So Mike Gozi, I think his mother is down there.
That's right.
Wow. ICDC, so I think he's flying down tonight to get her and bring her home tomorrow. So it's like, yeah, it's like that scary. And they, they've grown up their whole entire lives there. My sister's kids were born there, or they moved there when they were very small. Like, I think my nephew Asha was like a year old. Khalees was born there. Chris's was born there. And now they're adults and they're raising their own families, and so they've been around for quite a while, 30, 40 years there. And they don't scare easily, but they're scared of this one, and so I'm anxious. And and it's. It's funny, like, I just think like, I'm so used to like calling people and saying like, can I help you in some way? Can I bring you something? Like, I'll bring my grandmother soup if she's sick. I'll bring, send family members money if they're stuck in a ditch somewhere. I don't bail people out of jail, just as a principle. But I mean, it's like, it's frustrating to not have any ability to help really. Like, I felt like I did a good job helping my sister find a house. At least that was, and it was like a snafu trying to like, she's like, just put it on this credit card. I was like, and it wasn't working. So I was like, no, I'm putting it on my credit card. We'll figure it all out. Like, money is not the issue right now. Getting to safety is the issue. Finding a place to go and we'll figure all of this stuff out later.
Yeah, absolutely. And the amazing thing is we just had a hurricane, and it's not even supposed to be hurricane season, which is, again, what Haley and I talked about earlier.
Yeah, it's usually done by now.
Yeah. It's amazing.
And I think this season started early too, right? It started early and it's ending late, which is not a good sign necessarily. So it's like, yeah.
Well, and it's amazing too that they can predict these, because I know after the last hurricane hit, they were saying that two more are following, and I'm going, what?
Yeah.
And here's one of them.
Yeah. How come these things never hit Mar-a-Lago? I'm checking. Yeah. A legit question. It's a legit question.
Oh, I think in November he's going to get his, so it'll be okay.
He'll get hit with something else.
Right.
It'll feel like a Category 5.
Well, I mean, part of him running for president was to stay out of jail, so those days are coming for him very soon after November. Hey, we're here with Dr. Stately and Haley Cherry, and this is Native Roots Radio. I'm awake, and I'm awoke, and I'm awake, and I'm here. We're here Monday. We'll be right back after this short break. Haley?
Stay with us. The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis AIR. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis AIR dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune in to Minneapolis AIR on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950.
The Minneapolis Institute of Art is featuring the art and legacy of Jody Falwell, a groundbreaking potter from Cabo Owinga, New Mexico. Over the past 50 years, Falwell has revolutionized Pueblo pottery and native art by weaving in personal, political, and social stories into her pieces. Her exhibition titled Opawa Omung shows the incredible range of her work and the impact she's had on both native and contemporary American art. You can check it out at MIA through January. For more info, visit artsmia.org.
Unwanted sexting or photos, inappropriate jokes, even tickling or wrestling can feel like a violation. Catcalling, cornering, or groping, getting them drunk or high for sex, recording sexual acts without permission, hurting someone because of their sexual orientation, raping a family member, a child, a date, a friend, a stranger, purchasing a human being for sex. You make the choice every single time. Sexual violence is many things. Make a choice. Do not do it.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Introducing a new day of the week. Someday. Now, everything you were going to do someday is on the calendar. Want to retire someday? You'll really want this. A My Social Security account at socialsecurity.gov. You can estimate your future benefits and manage current benefits online. Millions of people have a My Social Security account. Get yours today, because someday is here at socialsecurity.gov.
Hi, this is Representative Sharice Davids from Kansas. I'm Ho Chunk, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is supported by Strong Hearts Native Helpline. October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and Strong Hearts offers culturally appropriate support and advocacy. Call or text 1-844-7-NATIVE or chat online at strongheartshelpline.org.
Well, excellent organization. It was great to have the Strong Hearts on last week and talk about their growth and their help and the way they do things. Just an amazing organization. Hey, speaking of amazing, we're here with Dr. Stately. I have a quick question about hurricanes, Dr. Stately. How do you set up a medical area in a situation like this? I don't even know where to start.
Oh gosh. Well, I think that probably, there's not a whole lot you can do while a hurricane is going on. The focus is like getting people evacuated, getting them into safe places. Like, there's a lot of places people will evacuate to, like, arenas and stuff like that. Things that can hold lots of people, keep people safe. They're usually built to endure tremendously strong winds and those kinds of things, stronger than single family homes and those kinds of things. So your focus is at this point in time is trying to get people evacuated safely, those kinds of things. For people who can't evacuate, the focus is on getting all the things that you would need to be able to stay, sheltered in place. Is a phrase we've heard a lot over the last several years, right? So you're making sure that you have all the things that you need, the medications you might need for several days. If you're insulin dependent, any of those other things, you want to make sure that you're doing those kinds of things. You're getting all your food that you need, water, clean water, because after a hurricane, flooding, like the water systems are not going to work. There's all kinds of challenges. There's going to be wastewater that's mingling with clean water. You don't want to and the biggest challenges that you have also is I think, injury or death. The most horrible things happen after the thing is over, right? So people go out of their houses, they feel confident, not necessarily prepared for water swells, strong currents, debris in the water, animals and predatory things in the water, they'll cut themselves, those kinds of things. And then the water's not clean, so then you're prone to infection and sepsis and a number of other things. So I think the American Red Cross and all the other emergency responders after the day after a hurricane, they're really focusing on doing things like rescuing people who are in danger of dying immediately or imminently, setting up places where, in the high ground and that are safe for people to go and get treatment, those kinds of things. And they're trying their best to communicate ahead of time to tell people to be really careful so that they can avoid being injured and having things like, an infection that's going to because it could be days before power comes back online. It could be days before clean water is available. So it's just a significant challenge for a lot of people. And if they don't have transportation other than a car, and the other things are going to be challenged. Even sometimes having a car is pointless because the streets could be flooded, or there's no gas anyway. You can't buy gas.
This
it's
is
just it's bad. This one will be bad for them.
Oh boy! Well, we'll have to talk about it again next week and see what we can do other than prayers, which we can do right away immediately.
Oh yeah, prayers are free. We can all pray for them right now, and the people of Florida, they just been hit by same area, just hit by a big. My niece, I was talking to her, and she said, she was telling me, she goes, I think we're going to stay because we built a new house. It's really hurricane resistant. We got all the new windows on it. She said, but she said, I'm just I'm having anxiety because she goes, 2 weeks ago when I was laying in bed with my husband and listening to the sound of the hurricane, she goes, it was like scary. She goes, now it was 100 miles off the coast. She said it was in a direct hit, and she goes, it was scary. Like, it was really scary. My niece, her daughter was really scared, and she goes, I just don't have to go through that with her again. I don't have to give her, deal with her anxiety and the trauma of it. And this one will be worse. So I'm glad she decided to leave. Her and her husband got a place up in Georgia. They're leaving tonight for Georgia.
Yeah. Wow.
And some of my other family members have found places. So, but yes, that's got to be really, I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
When I was 16, I was in a bad storm in Florida, and I thought it was like a hurricane or a tropical storm. I was freaking out because water was coming over the bridge into the car. And I'm I just started my life. I graduated from high school. I went to Florida for a vacation. And I was like, it was with my sister's husband. Water's coming into the car, and I'm like, should we be even on this bridge? It's like, we can't stop.
Wow. Wow.
So that was not even a hurricane. That was like a tropical storm. So it's like, those are frightening things to be having to deal with.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, man. Dr. Stately, I'd like to switch gears right now and ask you a couple things. I know Native American Community Clinic is working on another building and some things. Would you mind talking a little bit about that expansion, and also maybe how people that are listening out there that can support this and support Native American Community Clinic? We don't really talk a lot about that, and I think we should bring that a little spotlight on that today.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, Native American Community Clinic is building a new building. We've outgrown the size of our existing building, which we just purchased with help from the state about in 2021. Initially, we were just going to renovate that building because we bought the entire building, which gave us the other half of the building, which we had not been occupying before that. But we just grew so rapidly and so fast within the last 4 or 5 years, particularly during the time of the pandemic. It really kind of our growth really started around the time of the Wall of Forgotten Natives. And then it just began. I mean, the pandemic just escalated the rate of growth faster than anybody expected, certainly us as well. But we also, when we bought our building, we were going to renovate the existing building. That turned out we wouldn't be able to fit everybody inside that building because we had put people in homes, put people not in homes. We sent them home to work. We put people across the street in our administration. We jettisoned a couple of programs out of the clinic because if you recall, during the pandemic, if you wanted to provide services and you were a medical provider, you had to have staff spaced 6 feet apart.
Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember those days of sitting 6 feet apart? So I
carried rope with me all the time, especially at protest. Hold on to that rope. Okay, stay away from me.
Stand over there. That's a great idea. Actually, wish I had thought of that. But you could have marketed that pandemic rope. God,
Native Roots rope. That's hard to say. Native Roots rope.
Native Roots rope, your lifesaver, your lifeline. Next pandemic, go with it. But I was just saying, like, we decided to build a new building on the front of the parking lot, which is going to be a challenge for us for sure operationally. But as soon as we made the decision to build a new building with 2 stories of new clinic, expanded medical rooms, we're expanding our dental operation from 5 chairs to 12, so 150% expansion. We're expanding. We have a home for our traditional healing program now, and we have this beautiful design with this drum room at the center of the lobby that just as soon as you walk in the lobby, you're going to know that you're in an Indigenous space. You're going to hear the music. You're going to hear things, see things, and sense, smell medicines. You'll have the whole entire visceral experience of being in an Indigenous space and a healing space, and that's in our intent. We want you to feel like you come back home to heal. And then when we decided to do that, we were like, well, we really should build housing above us. This is probably the largest and most impactful social determinant of health, as they describe them, as a factor of inhibiting people's ability to achieve health and well-being. And Native people in Minneapolis, 1 out of 3 homeless people in Minneapolis are Native.
Wow.
We're 1% of the population, but we represent 33% of the population that's homeless. And so for me, it was more like a moral imperative. I couldn't imagine building a building and not putting housing on top of it to sort of serve the people that in our community that need it and need it the most. And so I was like, it was not an easy jump it was not a hard process to go through to being like, okay, yes, this is challenging. What do we know about housing? Nothing. Okay, well, let's find a housing partner that's really strong and knows what they're doing, which we did with Wellington Management Incorporated. They've built a couple of different large housing projects that are mixed use, commercial space and housing together. And we're close to closing our campaign. Actually, we're in the last 2 months of closing our campaign, which we hope to do by the end of December. And we'll break ground on the new building, hopefully by March. We'll have a technical typical groundbreaking that you see with all the people who've invested and supported, yellow hard hats and their golden. Well, we probably won't give actual golden shovels. We didn't raise that much money. Gold-plated shovels, maybe, or gold spray-painted shovels.
There you go.
So we'll have that thing, and then but what I'm more excited about is we're going to have a traditional, cultural, spiritual ceremony where we bless the ground. The ground that nurtures us, the earth that gives us everything that we need to live and sustain ourselves. We're going to start by thanking her and giving, and doing a ceremony where we ask permission to do this, and we start that process in a good way, and we fill all that new clinic with all the prayers that we all have for the well-being of our community and our relatives. And so I'm more excited about that, and I'm already in the process of planning, and I'm going to work with a young man that actually, Barry Hand. So.
Yeah, right on. Oh, really good words. Yeah, Barry's a good man. Hey, thank you, Dr. Stately. As always, prayers to our relatives in Florida and all over Turtle Island. Appreciate your words and your knowledge, and thank you again, as always, for being on.
Yeah, thank you so much. You can go to our website if you want to learn more about the Capital Campaign.
Right on. Hey, Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. Brook LaFloe up next. Oh,
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States.
And 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected.
Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf.
Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy.
As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired.
Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
Every day, our people suffer at the hand of domestic and sexual violence. But you are sacred and deserve to be safe in your own home. Strong Hearts Native Helpline is here to help. Native-centered, empowerment-based, trauma-informed advocates offer safety, sovereignty, and support. Call or text 844-7NATIVE. To chat online, visit www.strongheartshelpline.org. Reach out today.
Minnesotans age 65 plus might qualify for Health Partners Minnesota Senior Health Options. The plan includes personal support, coverage for medical, prescription drugs, and dental, plus over 30 extra benefits. Eligibility information is available at healthpartners.com/oneplan. Health Partners is a health plan that contracts with both Medicare and the Minnesota Medical Assistance Medicaid program to provide benefits of both programs to enrollees. Enrollment in Health Partners depends on contract renewal.
Some people won't give you the real talk on drugs, but it's time we know the facts. Fentanyl is killing people. It's a powerful opioid, often made illegally and commonly mixed with illicit drugs. It can even be pressed into counterfeit pills that resemble prescription medications. Just 2 milligrams, about the size of a few grains of sand, could potentially be lethal. This isn't an ad to scare you, but it is an ad to make you think twice. Get the facts. Go to realdealonfentanyl.com. This message is brought to you by the Ad Council.
If you're looking to save money on your home or building improvement project, check out Better Futures Minnesota's reuse retail warehouse in South Minneapolis. We carry salvage building materials such as cabinetry, flooring, plumbing fixtures, appliances, lighting, and more, saving you money and saving the planet by keeping these items out of the landfill, by giving them another life. Selections change daily, and we also take donations. Go to BetterFuturesMinnesota.com and look under Reuse Warehouse to learn more. Let us know AM 950 sent you.
My grandpa, Jim Warner, treated his customers like family. Warner Stellian is still doing that today. I'm Angela Warner, and to thank you for 70 years, Warner Stellian Appliance is offering unbeatable savings, like free dishwasher installation and no interest for 2 years with your Warner's card. Plus, go to WarnerStellian.com for a $70 coupon you won't find anywhere else. These deals end October 16th, so hurry into one of our 10 Minnesota stores. You'll love your new appliances and Warner Stellian.
End-of-life decisions are not easy to make. Hi, I'm Mary T. of Mary T. Hospice Care. It's important to make sure that this difficult time is meaningful and comforting to you and your loved ones. Our hospice team provides an individualized program of physical, emotional, spiritual, and practical care so your loved one is comfortable and not in pain. At Mary T. Hospice, we understand that choosing the right hospice care provider can be overwhelming, but we're here to assist you. Learn more today at marytinc.com.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Loya. Clear tonight with a low of 44, then sunshine Tuesday with a high of 72. You can find the best roast beef sandwiches and so much more at Maverick's Real Roast Beef in Roseville. Add fries or onion rings for a winning combination. Mavericks is located on Lexington Avenue, 1 mile south of Highway 36. Visit their website at mavericksbeef.com.
AM 950 KTN up, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul.
You're listening to Native Roots Radio. This is Spirit from Reservation Dogs. Get up and listen.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is supported by Native American Community Development Institute, or NACD, in Minneapolis.
Hey, we are really fun and surprised and happy to have Brook LaFloe on. I have all these emotions, Brook. Welcome, your CEO of Niniijaanis and One-on-Ones and Associate Director of the Montessori American Indian Childcare Center here. And it's always really good to see you and talk about upcoming events. Welcome, Brook.
Pinagigi, thank you for having me. Good to see you guys as well.
Oh, that's cool that you speak the sacred voice there.
Yeah, that ho chunk, I had to teach her some.
Oh.
You corrected me. So,
good one.
Yep. Always never too humble to be corrected, right? And especially
I'm proud of my humility, and let me tell you about it. What? That went crazy. Hey, Brook, welcome. Tell us a little bit about what's going on. I know we got Native American or Indigenous Day happening, and you have a lot going on there. Tell our audience what's going on and a little bit about yourself, because we get new people listening all the time.
Yeah, Buju Gagamijing Zibi Manidu Indigenous Mekanakwajin and Dujaba Megizin and Dudam. It's named after the bend in the river. You guys know my family comes from the Turtle Mountains. I follow my dad's clan, which is the Eagle clan, but my mom's Bear, so descend from there. And that's actually a great way to start, is Indigenous Peoples Day is coming up. on Monday next week, federally recognized as Christopher Columbus Day. I went to the American Indian Magnet School, so it was always Indigenous Peoples Day for me. It was never Christopher Columbus Day. Historically, all those years I was in elementary school, we paraded to Mounts Park and had this big ceremony at Mounts Park. The whole school did. All of Ames, all of Harding's Indian Ed classes was a part of that parade growing up. So I was a very proud, educated Native because of it, because I had that day and I recognized that day. And part of the basketball expo, which is now called Indigenous Peoples Weekend, is the weekend leading into that day. So it's just a similar recollection, a reclamation of time and space to continue to honor that, we are still here. We are in the cities and we are visible and we are thriving and doing well. And what better way to bring our people together than to do it with some res ball and some art and some culture and some crafts. That's really, Indigenous Peoples Weekend is an ode to the day. And it's just another way to bring our people together.
Yeah, it's a great idea. And then you've been doing this for a few years. And I think about like the 60s and 70s where we had all these intertribal basketball, softball games going on in the Twin Cities, and bringing that back is just really awesome to hear. And I applaud you for that. And tell people, too, where the games are going to be played, how they can get involved, and where to sign up, too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wish I was, in the 60s and 70s. Some of the tournaments left when I was coming back from college. So, yeah, definitely want to keep them going and keep something to do in the cities for our kids, right? We're hosting, this is our third year. It's previously been at Harding High School because our basketball team has selected Harding for the past 2 years. Most of them all went there and they're all graduated now. This year, I decided, let's take it to my high school. I went to Johnson on the east side. And Johnson's was a big basketball school, still has a pretty solid team for the boys. So I wanted to find a way to collaborate with my own high school community this year. So we're hosting it at St. Paul Johnson Senior High School. That will be at 1349 Arcade Street in St. Paul. And it'll be this weekend, October 12th and 13th, both days. We'll be kicking off everything at 9:30. Doors will open at 9 a.m. And then they'll be closing at about 9 p.m. So it's a full day, full weekend thing. There's all kinds of activities. There's a family 5-on-5 that's really competitive for the adults and end of youth, I guess you could say. It's 14 plus co-ed. There is a 3-on-3 for middle school, high school, and then our Legends bracket, our 40 plus, our elders in training, I guess you could say. There's a NMIW awareness game. That's kind of the spiritual aspect of the weekend, kind of like people do these runs. This is more like basketball awareness. And then there's some community performances, some musical performances, and then some arts and crafts all weekend as well.
All happening at Johnson, huh?
All happening at Johnson this year, yep.
Wow. So did you say earlier you had vendors too? So you'll have people be able to pick up some swag and some cool T-shirts or what have you, some beaded earrings?
Oh, yeah. You might know my agenda better than me right now. I've been living and breathing it. Yes, there will be lots of artist vendors and educational vendors as well. So we kind of been calling this a public health expo now, where we can connect community members to services that they know of or don't know of, but then also connecting businesses, entrepreneurs, creatives in the space. There will be some sale vendors as well. And I want to encourage everybody to go ahead and spend your money with them this weekend. We want them to come in and come out of it, having a good time, a good experience.
And we always want to talk to, when it comes to vendors and people, that if they're selling the stuff, it's okay for people to wear. And we mean that by our white allies that come to these things to support us. And so I just wanted to bring that up again, Brooke.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a very good point. That's the difference between cultural appreciation and then cultural appropriation, as we say. Appreciation is when you're buying it from a Native-owned Native artists themselves, and you know where that it's being resourced, where that piece of art or jewelry is being resourced directly, as opposed to, cultural appropriation is when you're buying it at a Target or a non-native led entity that may not be fully going back to the artist or the family.
Well, and there's a term that really bugs me that I see a lot at our state fair, and that's Native inspired. That means Native stolen.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's along the lines of cultural appropriation. And, because I think our crafts and our networks are really tight and we support each other well, that other people find their way into our market and into our own economy, to extract from the economy. And that does not help Native businesses, our organizations. It does not help us when we're being extracted for our cultural purposes and stuff. So,
yeah, really good way to put it. I want to ask you a little bit more about the MMI. I see you're wearing the MMIW shirt. About the tournament and what that'll entail with the missing and murdered Indigenous relatives.
Yeah, so thank you. I'll shout out the Minnesota Missing and Murdered Indigenous Relatives Office. Minnesota is one of the first states to have this office. So I just shout out to them because they're sponsoring that part of the game, that part of the weekend. And it's a game, it's a spiritual component. So none of the players are paid. We do have them gas cards because a lot of them are traveling in, and then we have some gifts for them, some tobacco offerings. And there are lots of Native represented from all different levels of college. There's a few high school Natives. So real basketball players who are coming in to share their skills and talents with us for the greater cause of raising awareness for our women, our missing and murdered Indigenous relatives, not just women, because this endemic has hit our children and our men's population in a disproportionate way as well. So yeah, just to honor all those relatives, Anna Negrete from the office will be doing a small ceremony at the beginning where she'll mention many of the names. This list has grown, but many of the names of our missing and murdered folks here in Minnesota. We'll have a moment of silence before we kick that game off, and then it'll be, playing for the strength, giving up our strength in that game to our relatives and to our families who need healing and to our relatives who are missing. So that is the spiritual component of this weekend.
Wow, really appreciate that explanation. And Anna's been on the show many times, and what a great organization. And it is the first one MMIW office in the country, so hats off to them. I wanted to ask you something before the segment's over. So you played Division I basketball.
Yep.
So obviously you played for Johnson, right?
High school. That was high school level. I loved playing for Johnson for sure.
But so how many times? What was your record versus Harding? Is what I was going to ask you.
Oh, we beat Harding every year back then. Sorry.
Oh, don't lie! Don't lie.
Our girls did. I'm pretty sure our boys did too. Yeah, our boys back then were like undefeated my junior year. So you'll see this weekend. I just give our boys a big shout out. In Johnson, in our gym, there's this big jersey, number 10. That's from 2010. Our boys went undefeated. They beat Royce White and Hopkins that year, and just undefeated, went to state that year. So, and nobody likes to give us the love and recognition that Johnson deserves, because we're one of those inner city schools that's kind of rugged, but I always will. I'll never let that one go. So.
Well, I know in my tenure at Harding, there was a couple really good college players that came out of Johnson. And I think one of them even went to play for the Packers, too, if I remember right.
Oh, but for football, sorry.
Right.
I'm basketball still.
But I'm old, Brooke, so that could have been in the 50s or 60s when that happened. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if it was that. Football team's doing good still. Yeah, yep.
That's great. Hey, Brooke, we're going to take a quick break here. Give out the information real quick, and we'll come back to you before we take a break so everyone that's listening can hear where and when and how.
Yes, we'll have Indigenous Peoples Weekend, Basketball Expo, Art Expo, all the expos this weekend at Johnson Senior High School. That's 1349 Arcade Street, St. Paul, Minnesota, 55106. All the activities are free. It's free to enter. Come on out and watch some games, enjoy some activities, get some food at the food trucks. Come on out.
Right on. Do we have our friend what's the name of the fry bread? Who's all going to be there?
Tacos?
Yes.
Yep. We'll have 3 Native-owned food trucks this year. So returning is Trickster Tacos, Steve and D's. They're kind of more burgers, American food, and then we'll also have Wacky Wing Wagon. Another Native-owned on the east side too. They actually live right up the street from my parents, or that truck is there anyway. So
that's amazing.
And more American food too.
Well, I'm going to have you in the next segment say that 3 times really fast for our listening audience.
Wacky Wing Wagon. Yeah.
We'll be right back. This is Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awakened. We're here with Brooke and Haley and myself, Robert. We'll be right back.
The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis AIR. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis AIR dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune in to Minneapolis AIR on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950.
J&S Bean Factory is a Native-owned, community-supported, cozy, artsy coffee shop which offers roasted on-site beans, live music, and baked goods. Relax in the beautiful outside patio. City Pages writes, voted top 10 coffee shops. Tucked into a quiet corner of St. Paul's Highland Park neighborhood, this coffee shop roasts beans on-site from the best coffee-growing countries in the world. Located at 1518 Randolph Avenue, St. Paul. The good stuff.
I heard sex trafficking happens a lot in Indian country. What is that?
Here are some of the real reasons why sex trafficking happens in Indian country. Unequal gender roles that were forced on us by colonization. Communities don't have enough resources. Silence around domestic and sexual violence. Lack of attention and justice for missing and murdered Indigenous people. There's a lot of behavior that keeps our communities out of balance. These are just a few true reasons why Native communities are targeted by traffickers. When these acts of violence happen in our communities, it opens us all up for exploitation.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
I've often said the RAV4 from Rudy Luther Toyota is the best vehicle I've ever driven, and I just had it proven to me once again. I drove around San Francisco and the Sierra Nevadas in a RAV4 hybrid, and it was sensational. The city driving was amazing, tackling tight corners and steep city streets while looking stylish. The real challenge came when we got up into the mountain roads, and the RAV4 carved them up like a hot knife through butter. And the hybrid fuel efficiency saved me over $200 on my vacation. Win, win, win. Test drive a Toyota RAV4 today at Rudy Luther Toyota, 394 and 169 in Golden Valley.
This is Leonard Peltier. I am in Coleman 1, U.S. Penitentiary, and I'm listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awakened. This is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is supported by Howling for Wolves, protecting wolves for future generations.
Hey, we're here with Brooke LaFloe. Hey, Brooke, I'd love to, in this last segment, talk a little bit about your history and talk a little bit about you playing basketball and being a walk-on and then how that's made your journey into being a basketball coach. Could you tell our audience a little bit about that?
Yeah, how far are we going back? No, just kidding. Age 5? Yeah, no, I've played my whole life. Grew up with a big brother, a year and a half older, so one of the reasons why I've played my whole life. And after Johnson, I'll say I was not recruited for basketball. I had some recruitments for volleyball, and I first started at McAllister College because my mother had went there and pushed for that. So I played volleyball there. I walked on to McAllister College's basketball team at that time. So they're NCAA Division III. And so I spent my first 2 years there. And then I actually transferred down to Tulane University in New Orleans for academics because they had a large, extensive neuroscience program. I was a neuroscience major at the time. And I randomly emailed the coach and was like, hey, I just came from a D3 program. Do you guys need some practice players? I'm just looking to stay in shape and get involved and make some friends, brand new college, states away. Didn't know a single person when I went. So it was intimidating, but at the least. And they asked me to try out because they had a couple of medical, what are they called when you're medically disqualified? So some of the players had too many concussions. One blew out her knee. They invited me to try out. And so I went through consecutive sessions of about 4 different tryouts. And I was the one that made the team that year. I was like super fast and super hard work ethic. So to say, I had not taken a traditional path to a Division I program at all. Those are usually recruits only. All of my teammates were scholarships. Fortunately, I was on an academic scholarship at the time, so I didn't need an athletic one. But yeah, and then I mostly rode the bench. I was a role player. I was the player that really pushed my teammates. And my junior year, we went to the WNIT, the Women's National Invitation. So these were my last 2 years of college, or my last 2 years of eligibility. At the time, NCAA rules were very different. There was no payments. There was no, you would lose your eligibility that way. And so, yeah, my junior year, we went to the WNIT. And then my senior year, we actually made it to the big dance. We went to the NCAA tournament and lost in the first round to NC State. It was a great memory, though.
What number were you?
In college?
Yeah.
I was number 1.
Wow, that's very cool. What tenacity that must have been to think. What made you think about, I guess you gave the reasons that, you were down in the school and didn't know anybody to reach out. That takes a lot of guts.
Yeah, I was always been very, I've been a thrill seeker most of my life. I was a hyperactive kid. My parents had me in sports doing something all the time. So my time was always filled to keep me out of trouble that way. Good trouble these days, but yeah, I was very a go-getter. I would still consider myself that, but maybe on a lesser scale these days. And I needed to find some place to feel like home. I needed to find friends that felt like family. And that's always what a basketball team really is. When you're on a team or when you play team sports, you have your buddies and, their parents come to the games. And so you make friends with their parents and they become second parents, third parents, whatever you want to call it. And that was definitely what they became for me at that time in New Orleans. Because my parents were working full time and they didn't make it to a single game, but that was all good because they were watching and cheering and rooting for me all the way at the top of the river here. So.
Well, and that kind of work ethic you can give to your players, and how do you do that? And tell us a little bit about your coaching style.
Yeah, that led into, as soon as I came home from grad school, I really was just a coach for my little brother. And it started just me and him. And then I did rec league. So St. Paul Parks and Rec, have all these little leagues that are free. So I became a rec coach for him for a few years. And then it turned into, once I opened Niniijaanis one-of-ones, it was really out of Indigenous Montessori materials and art. And with that, some of our kids started asking me to sponsor them to basketball tournaments. And that's really how our basketball program started. And just a side note on that, it was my nephew, Harvey Peltier, and his mom is my first cousin, who ran away on our reservation. And so she is an MMIW back home. Her case is unresolved. Nobody knows what happened to her still to this day. So I said that if we're going to do this, we're going to do this for your mom and we're going to do this for our family so that we can heal and work through some of the trauma we've had within our own family, being separated and split up through that trauma. So yeah, the boys team, asked me because they knew of my history playing basketball. They knew of my times in college, and having been home now, here in Minnesota, they asked me to start bringing them around to have their time to develop and grow. And I would say I'm not an easy coach just because I've made it to that level. And I know the work ethic it takes to get to that level and to be the size I am and to be a woman. You know, things were different. I love where women's basketball is now in women's sports, but it was a little different back then.
Yeah, it was. And you are definitely a trailblazer and a community person. And I don't think you have slowed down at all. You are all over the place in a good way when it comes to being in our community. And that's so, so important.
Thank you. I'm trying to figure out the rest part too. You know, sometimes I look back, I worked at a crepe shop next to the bar on campus. So the shop was open as long as the bar was, because the kids would come and get crepes. And so I worked like overnights through college and would be up for 6 a.m. waits and then go to classes. And I look back now, like, how did I even do that? I don't know how I did that, but.
I'm glad you did and you got through it, and you can, hand that down to our young ones that need a role model and people that look like them and that have had success in many ways. So, Brooke, it's just really great to hear your story. I don't think I heard the first part before, so it was really cool to hear that. One more thing here. We only got a couple more minutes to the show. Let's talk again. What's going to be happening? Let's pump that up.
Yeah, Miigwech, we're hosting Indigenous Peoples Weekend. It's a basketball expo, art expo, native market this weekend, Saturday and Sunday, at Johnson Senior High School on the east side of St. Paul, 1349 Arcade Street. We'll be there from 9 a.m. till about 9 p.m., different activities all throughout the day. If you look up our Linktree, Indigenous Peoples Weekend, you can still register for activities. For some of the basketball activities, there's a little kids camp, 3-on-3. The 5-on-5 is full, but you can still check out that Linktree. And if you're interested and want to come play, please do. If you want to just come watch, it's free to get in. It's free to check out vendors and support our artists, and it's for everybody. It's not just Native, it's open. Again, part of Indigenous Peoples Weekend is creating visibility in the cities for ourselves and for our peers, right? Like if our peers don't know the history around Christopher Columbus Day, or if they don't know what MMIW means, a lot of education's going on that weekend as well with our non-Native relatives and peers. So open for everyone.
Well, I just want to say a big peeny gigi, Brooke, and I always love your energy and love seeing you in the community, and great work as always, and thank you so much for being on.
Yeah, Miigwech, Robert, Miigwech, Haley.
All right, hey, if you're listening to the show, you're part of the resistance. From Chief Plenty Coops, the ground on which we stand on is sacred ground. It's the blood of our ancestors. We need to resist, divest, join a group, run for office, and vote, vote, vote. We're still here. We are the 7th generation.
And free Leonard Peltier. Now.